Decorator syntax has a reputation for being magic, and it doesn't deserve it. There's one rewrite rule, it fits on a line, and every other behavior in this video is a consequence of it. We'll go through the exact desugaring, what is legal after the @ symbol and how that changed in Python 3.9, the moment decoration happens, and what stacking really does, and why the application order and the execution order are opposites. Decorating classes and methods, decorators that hand back something that is not a function at all, and finally how to read a decorator line you've never seen before and know what it does. Start with the rule itself. The @ symbol above a definition means the name is defined as normal, then passed to the decorator, and then rebound to whatever comes back. That's the entire feature. It's not a hook, not an event, not a special call protocol. It's a definition followed by an assignment, and the language reference defines it that way. Every question you might have about decorators can be answered by rewriting the code in this longer form and reading it as ordinary Python. There is one small difference, and it's worth knowing because it affects debugging. In the manual version, the name is bound to the original function first and then rebound. With the @ form, the name is only ever bound once to the final result. So if the decorator raises an exception, the manual version leaves the undecorated function sitting on the name, while the @ form leaves the name undefined. In practice, that means a failure during decoration produces a clean name error later, rather than silently running an unwrapped function. Notice what the output is and what it is not. Importing this module prints the wrapping message without anything calling load. Decoration happens when Python executes the def statement, which for a module-level function means @import. That has real consequences for startup time and for errors surface, and there's a full video on it later in this series. For now, hold on to the fact that the decorator body runs once, early, while the wrapper it returns runs on every call. Next, what you're allowed to write after the symbol, because it's broader than most examples suggest. Before Python 3.9, the grammar was deliberately narrow. You could write a dotted name with an optional call at the end, and that was it. Anything else had to be assigned to a local name first. 3.9 replaced that with any expression, which is why you now see decorators pulled straight out of a dictionary or chosen with a conditional. If you maintain code that has to run on older interpreters, the narrow rule is the reason for those otherwise pointless assignments above the definition. When the decorator line contains a call, two things happen in order. The expression is evaluated first, which runs retry and produces a decorator, and then that result is applied to the function. Both messages print at import in that order. This is why a decorator that takes arguments needs 3 levels of function rather than 2. The outer level consumes the arguments, the middle level consumes the function, and the inner level is the wrapper that runs per call. That structure gets its own video later. Here's a practical reading routine. Check for parentheses, because those mean a factory is being called before anything touches your function. Check for a dot, because that usually means the decorator belongs to an object such as an application or a registry, which is a hint that registration is happening. Check whether it returns your function unchanged, since many decorators only record it somewhere. Then rewrite the whole thing as an assignment. Take the familiar web framework route decorator. It evaluates the route call to get a decorator, applies that to your view, and the framework stores your function in its routing table. Stacking is where the order confuses people, so prove it instead of asserting it. Apply the rewrite rule twice and the answer falls out. The decorator closest to the def is applied first, and each one above it wraps the result of the one below. Reading the stack from bottom to top gives you the order of applications, and it's the same order you would read the nested call from the inside out. Nothing here is special cased. It is the single rule applied repeatedly. Well, this is a good point to pause on. At import, the apply messages print inner first, then outer, because application runs bottom up. At call time, the inner messages print outer first, then inner, because the outermost wrapper is the one the name points at, and it calls inward. Application order and execution order are opposites, and both follow from the same rewrite. Once you've seen this output, stacked decorators stop being guesswork. Order is not a style question when the decorators have side effects. Put an authorization check above a cache, and the check runs on every request. including cache hits. Reverse them, and a cached response can be returned without the check ever running, which is a security bug rather than a performance tweak. The same reasoning applies to retry and timing. Whichever one is on top sees the other's whole behavior as a single unit. When you stack, ask what each layer needs to see. The rewrite rule also tells you what can be decorated and what a decorator may return. Functions, async functions, classes, and methods can all be decorated because all four are definitions that bind a name. For classes, the rewrite is identical. So a class decorator receives the class object and returns a replacement, and that replacement is bound to the class name. For methods, the decorator runs while the class body is executing, before the class itself exists, which is why a method decorator sees a plain function rather than a bound method. Async functions are worth flagging, because a wrapper that is not itself async will return a coroutine object rather than an awaited result, and that's a common source of confusion. A class decorator most often modifies the class in place and returns it, which is what the data class decorator does when it generates an init method and adds it to the class. Returning the same object keeps identity checks and is instance working the way readers expect. Returning a different class is legal and occasionally useful, but it breaks any code that captured a reference to the original. So it's a heavier decision than it looks. Because the rule is just an assignment, the decorator may return anything at all, and Python will not object. Return a string and the name is now a string. That's worth demonstrating once because it explains a class of confusing errors. If a decorated function reports that it is not callable, the decorator returned a non-callable value, and the two usual causes are forgetting to return the wrapper, which yields none, and calling the wrapper instead of returning it, which yields whatever that call produced. The opposite extreme is a decorator that wraps nothing. It records the function somewhere and hands the identical object back. The name still points at the original function, so there is no call overhead, no lost metadata, and no wrapper to debug through. A surprising amount of framework code is exactly this. When you read a decorator and cannot work out what it changed about the function, the answer is often that it changes nothing and the effect is the entry it made in a table. And finally, the things the syntax deliberately does not do. Sing about 4 limits. There is no unapply. Once the name is rebound, the original is reachable only if the wrapper kept a reference to it, which is what the wrapped attribute is for. There is no checking. Python does not verify that the result is callable or that it accepts the same arguments. The syntax only fires on a definition. So to decorate a function you did not define, you assign the result yourself, exactly as the desugared form does. And decoration is a one-time event, not something that happens on every call. So to close out the video, let's do a quick recap, summarize a bit here. Real quick, the @line rebinds the name to the result of calling the decorator with the target. Since 3.9, anything that evaluates to a callable is allowed there. Parentheses mean a factory runs first and produces the real decorator. Stack supply from the bottom up and execute from the top down. And that difference matters whenever the layers have side effects. Classes, methods, and async functions all follow the same rewrite, and the result is never checked, which is why a missing return shows up as a name that is suddenly none. Whenever a decorator line confuses you, rewrite it as an assignment and read it as ordinary Python. One rule, applied repeatedly. A definition, then an assignment, and nothing else is happening. If you found this helpful, please subscribe.